Ah, yes. Why did the Mint produce a 3-cent coin? They're so weird, and the denomination is certainly not, a traditional one like what we're used to seeing. But yes, the U.S. Mint did indeed produce 3-cent coins from 1851 to 1889. So there's a nice 38-year spread of this coin that turned out was pretty much a big deal during its time. So let's talk about why they produced this coin, okay? And, it may not be painfully obvious to a lot of folks today because, this is like old regulation stuff that they were dealing with during the 19th century. So the 3-cent coin served two different purposes. Okay, the first one was that banks and the Federal Reserve were beginning to do this monetary exchange. What we tend to forget is the U.S. was embroiled in the middle of a, kind of a trade kind of war, so to speak, where there's new taxes and everything else levied on goods, and we're still utilizing British coins and Spanish reals, and a bunch of foreign coins were actually circulated through them through the U.S. during its time. So the U.S. Mint produced the 2-cent coin and the 3-cent coin to help with the exchange rate. And because it was kind of oddball and, there was a lot of decimal points involved with the exchange rate, they produced a 2-cent and a 3-cent coin. And it was extremely useful. And they were able to do what they needed to do to take away, some of that foreign coin and give them some, United States legal tender that they could use to spend, and we could turn into a completely US based coinage system, okay, which makes sense. Also during this time, the postage rates have dropped from 5 to 3 cents. All right, as you can see, here's a graphic of the two stamps that kind of evolved from one to the other. The 5-cent stamp, this one is an 1847 issue, and then the 1851 issue on the right side shows 3 cents. So again, this is a kind of an oddball type of postage during its day. So, instead of paying out, with a nickel, or having to pay with 3 large cents, or, a 2-cent piece and a large cent, or any combination thereof, they produce these 3-cent coins to use for the postage. I think the handling aspect of the whole thing was the major factor, the contributing, end all when it came to this program. A lot of postmasters and people of that nature had a hard time controlling a lot of the large cents and the bigger coins. It filled up the registers, and it took up a lot of room, whereas these smaller 3-cent pieces did just the trick in ensuring that they're able to handle all this money, okay, because they were sending out a lot of parcels and envelopes and postcards and things of that nature during its day. So they were handling a lot of these small 3-cent pieces. So those were the two main reasons why the U.S. had produced these small coins. Now, first of all, I wanted to show you kind of like the two different designs that the U.S. Mint had produced during this 38-year time period. Okay, so the first one you see here with the star, and then you have the Roman numeral 3 on the reverse. This design was made by a gentleman by James B. Longacre. Okay, some of you may know him from the Indian head cent fame. During his time, he was one of the chief engravers that everybody got to know, you know, along with George T. Morgan and, you know, a few others. He was an important person when it came to the design of U.S. coinage. So he produced this 3-cent silver. Now the coin is really small. It's actually smaller than today's dime. They use a nickname called Trime, T-R-I-M-E. It's still used today, okay? You know, I bought myself a Trime, would be an example of how you would say it. The 3-cent silver was produced from 1851 to 1873. Some of those later issues became extremely scarce. There were a few proof issues, which also, you know, went into the equation of the whole series. And the same can be said about the 3-cent nickel. Okay, so silver probably wasn't going up too high, but it made enough of an adjustment that they've decided to produce a nickel version of the 3-cent piece. It's less about the silver, but it's making the coin a little bit bigger. Okay, I've actually held a 3-cent silver, and they're so small and flimsy and thin that if you're not careful, you can actually bend it in your fingers. Whereas the 3-cent nickel, you couldn't do that. It was just much more stronger because of the composition change. For the 3-cent nickel, okay, it's also designed by James Longacre. This one lasted from 1865 all the way to 1889. Keep in mind, even though there's a nice 24-year range for the nickel, there were only a few dates where the mintage was high enough that they were commonly seen. 1865, 1866, let's see, 1872, I believe. There were a few dates that were plentiful enough that, you know, they didn't need to make billions and millions of these things. So there's a lot of dates in this series that are very challenging. There's a lot of stoppers in this series, in spite of it being probably one of the least loved coin series in numismatics today. So I just wanted to talk about why the U.S. made 3-cent pieces. Hopefully it you know, it all makes sense. You know, it was to trade foreign coin for U.S. and you know, monetize a fully U.S. designed base system for coins. And second of all, the change in postage rates from 5 to 3 cents was a big deal. So hope you guys enjoyed this video. As always, check me out on Facebook and Instagram. I have both. Blue Ridge Silverhound, 4 words. And yeah, it was a pleasure. Love you guys. Best way to support me, hit the like button below, share and subscribe to whoever you'd like. You guys have a wonderful day, nice evening, and I'll talk to you later. More coin stuff.